It's officially back to school season. Some of you may be excited for it, some of you may be dreading it, but regardless, I'm going to be giving you my best advice for how to be the perfect student. We are going to start with, in my opinion, the most important thing in the preparing for back to school process, which is planning and organization. Some things to consider when you're planning are what supplies you're going to use. Are you going to use your computer? Are you going to get an actual notebook? What classes do you need to take? You can either meet with a counselor, or most schools have like a plan sort of thing where you can plan out what classes you want to take and what classes you actually need to take, because a lot of times those counselors will have you take classes that you don't actually need to take. They'll ask you, what kind of classes do you like, or what are you interested in, and you say art, and then you take an art class, and you don't even need that for a psychology degree. Actually, you might. I don't actually know, but I'm just saying, take the classes that you need to take so that you're not wasting your money and that you're not taking so long to finish school. Also, make sure you know what times you need to take them, or that you can actually take them. Like if you work in the afternoon, then maybe don't take any classes that are evening classes. Or if you work in the morning, maybe don't take morning class. Or if you're not a morning person, probably don't take morning classes. Obviously, sometimes you don't have that flexibility. You have to take the class whenever it's available. But if there's a time that you really can't take a class, then make sure that you know that ahead of schedule. Also, you need to know how you're going to get from class to class. Are you going to live on campus? Are you going to be living at home? Do you need extra time to commute? Do you need extra time to walk? Maybe your class is on this side of the campus and your other class is way over here, and it's going to take you 10 minutes to walk, but you only have 5 minutes to get there. So make sure that you know the route and you know how you're going to get from point A to point B. Something else that's important to know is, do you have anything that's going to conflict with school? Like maybe you have a vacation plan during final seasons. You might want to reschedule that vacation, or maybe you have to work. You want to make sure that you work around both of those. And the last thing is just knowing your actual school deadlines. Like, when is tuition due? When is the last day to sign up for a payment plan when you need it? When's the last day to sign up for work study? When's the last day to withdraw from or switch classes? Those are important deadlines because you don't want to waste your money and you don't want to fall behind, because you'll be stressed. As for organization, when I was in high school, I had a folder for each class. I only had 4 or 5 classes, so it wasn't that hard to carry around 4 folders. Actually, you know what? I think we had 2 different days. We had like an A day and a B day, so I carried around my A day folder, and then I carried around my B day folder and put all the assignments in those folders for the certain days so that I had them, and I knew that if I had math on an A day, I just go to the A day folder and all of my assignments for that class should be in that folder. But you can also do this digitally. So on my computer, I would create a folder, call it Fall 2024 semester, or just Fall 2024, and then inside the folder I would make subfolders with my different classes, say like math, English, science, whatever I was taking, and then I would put my assignments for each of those classes within that folder so that my desktop isn't becoming so chaotic and so cluttered, and that it's very easy to be organized, and I can just go to this folder and know that whatever assignment I need, whatever syllabus I need is inside that folder. Something else I did that was really helpful was printing out my syllabus, but only the part of the syllabus that had the deadlines, because it would have the testing deadlines, it would have the, like if we were working on a certain section, it would have those deadlines, it would also have the deadline for the final project. I could just print it out, I could put it on my wall, and then every time I'm around my desk area, I can look and see when certain assignments were due, if I'm ahead of schedule, if I'm behind schedule, and also for like final projects and things, they could just be in the back of my head and I know like, oh, that's coming up soon. And the last way to stay organized is having some sort of planner. I used to have like an actual planner that just had the days of the week every month, and I would just write down my assignments in there. But then I kind of transitioned to using Notion, so you could also do it digitally, or you can put it in your notes app. Just make sure you have somewhere where you're able to keep track of your assignment or what is due the next time you come to class, because you're going to be very upset if you miss something because you try to remember in your head. College and high school are both very chaotic times, and you have so many things going on that it's hard to remember it all. Let's talk about completing assignments. If you have all online classes, even if you don't have online classes, but you have like say 2 specific classes one day, 2 classes the next day, say you have history and math on Monday, Wednesday, and then French and English on Tuesday, Wednesday. Try to split it up so that you're doing those assignments, like have specific days that you do specific classes. For example, if I have an online class or in-person class Monday, Wednesday, I'm going to do the work for those classes on Mondays and Wednesdays. And then if I have a class on Tuesdays and Thursdays, say I have French and English, I'm going to do French and English on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then for classes that have a little bit more assignments, because some classes are easier than others, classes that have more assignments, I will use the weekend to complete those. but at least when I split it up into certain days, I'm keeping myself on track and I'm giving myself enough time to complete the assignments for the days they do. Or you could also flip-flop it where you have a class Tuesday, Thursday, and then you do the assignment Monday, Wednesday, so that the assignment is done the night before. Also, just remember to take breaks and breathe and give yourself enough time to complete assignment so you don't have to rush and complete your work. And also have a designated workspace. For the majority of high school, I didn't have a desk in my room, so I did my homework on my floor and on my bed, and that led to some of the worst back pain of my life. So I recommend getting a designated workspace, even if it's a tiny corner in your room. My biggest studying tip is to not overstudy. A lot of times you know something and you continue to study it over and over again, and then you just completely forget it when you go take the test. So my advice is to limit the amount of time you study, especially on something that you already know. You don't need to waste your time trying to teach yourself something that you already know. That doesn't make any sense. You can save that time and energy to teach yourself something that you actually have been struggling with. For me, a lot of times in high school and college, I didn't study at all. Like, obviously I would review my notes and go over certain topics that I knew would be on the test, but a lot of times teachers are like, this will be on the test. You take time to study it and it's not on the test, and so what you didn't study is actually on the test. So kind of review it all. I knew for me that if I didn't know it before taking the test, I wasn't going to know it during the test. And a lot of times I would take a test and I would get to a problem or a question I didn't know, and I would just leave it blank because I'm like, there's no point in trying if I don't know what to do. But also there is a little bit of like hit or miss with that, because you can attempt it if you know some of the steps, because some teachers will give you partial credit if you do that. So I wouldn't recommend leaving the problem blank, but if you don't know how to do it, just move on. Don't waste your time, because you're going to stress yourself out over something you knew you didn't know and that your brain just simply does not want to absorb. But for those of you who really love to study, I'm going to share 2 tips that I learned on YouTube in like 2014 for studying. Okay, so the first one is, while you're studying or taking notes, chew a type of gum. Like, chew some sort of gum, maybe like mint gum, and then during the test, if you're allowed to, chew the same type of gum, and something in your brain just kind of helps you remember what you study. A second tip is to write in color. So anything that you need to remember, anything that's so important, write it in color, and then during the test use that same color and write, because for some reason your brain associates that color with what you studied and you're able to remember it all. I'm not an expert on this, but these are some of the study psychology hacks I learned on YouTube when I was like 12 years old. It might seem a little bit crazy, but they did help because I ended up being a straight A student all throughout school. My biggest advice for supplies is to not go overboard. You buy all of these supplies and then you never end up using them, or you lose the majority of them. So save your money and only get what you actually need. What I typically used was a notebook and some pens, because I like writing in pens better than pencils. But you can get a pack of pencils and have it for the whole school year. And then I also had different folders for each of my classes so that I could stay a little bit more organized with each of them. And then when I got to college, basically I just took notes on my computer because it was a lot faster, and I was able to just later on, if I really wanted handwritten notes, I could do that at home. Also an iPad. I didn't have an iPad when I went to college, but if I did, I would definitely bring that instead of my MacBook because it's a lot lighter. For textbooks, don't buy them from your school unless you really have to, and also don't buy them before the first day of school unless you really need them, because a lot of times the school will give you like a recommended textbook for that class. You'll buy it and then the professor's like, we're not even going to use the textbook, or we're not going to use that textbook. I want you guys to get this textbook. Then you just wasted your money on a textbook that you didn't even need. For most textbooks, you can look them up online and you can find a free PDF of it. Or if you're someone like me who likes the physical book right in front of you, then you can go online and you could still probably find a cheaper version of the book. I know a lot of times I went to this site called Thrift Books and I just bought the textbook secondhand, but I only bought the textbook if I knew that I really wanted to keep it. So later down on the line, I could use it as a reference when I was done with school. And as for general school supplies, I would wait until you actually get into the classroom, because I had a lot of teachers that said, buy all these supplies. It was in the syllabus. They had a whole list of materials for you to buy. You buy them and you only use like 2 or 3 of them. So I would wait until you're actually going to use it before you go out and buy it. We've made it to the last section of this video, which is basically going to be general high school and college advice. My first piece of advice to give you guys is to join clubs and school organizations, because we all know how hard it is to make friends when you're in your 20s or even when you're in high school, when everybody kind of has their set friend group already. So taking the time to go join clubs and just learn to meet new people and learn to network with people who are interested in the same things as you can really help you and can help you later on in the future when you're looking to find jobs. I was so guilty of just waking up, going to class, coming home, doing my assignments, and I really wish I would have just taken the time to slow down and not worried so much on just completing my degree. I wish I would have experienced the whole college experience. You need to learn to create balance. I was the type of person where in high school, middle school, college, all those things, I didn't take the time to have fun during the weekends. I was always stressed out trying to complete assignments. I was like, no, I can't have fun until this is done. But once one thing was completed, there was the next thing I had to do. I would just say, take the time, have some fun. It's okay. It's not going to make or break you. Just take a day, go hang out with your friends, go out by yourself. Just self-care, take care of yourself. Give yourself a chance to breathe. But on the flip side, you have to realize that if you're always going out, you're always having fun, and you never give yourself time to complete assignments, you're going to probably end up failing, and that's not what you want at all. So you have to have balance, allow yourself to have time to be fun and spontaneous, but also have time to remain disciplined and be consistent with your schoolwork. My last piece of advice, and I think probably the most important, is you need to remember your grades don't define your worth. Just because you do bad on a test or an assignment, that does not mean that you're not smart or that you're not capable of doing the work. It just means that you had a bad day. It was just one bad assignment. Don't dwell on it too long. Just kind of accept it and move on and try to do better next time. This also goes for good grades too. I know getting good grades kind of helps with academic validation, but you don't always need that. Try to stay neutral so that all the good grades don't go to your head, because one day you're not going to get such a good grade and then you're going to be disappointed and you're going to be too hard on yourself. So don't do that. And that is all I have for you guys. Hopefully this video was informative. Hopefully it was helpful. Hopefully you have the best, greatest school year ever if you're going back to school. I was gonna go back to school, decided to defer, and I will be going back to school fall 2025. Anyways, this is not about me. If you made it this far in the video, comment down below the book emoji. And with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Okay, bye!